Okay, so I've got my one perspective trees, and I've already tested out some of my watercolor techniques, and now I'm going to start applying them to my final art. And if you see anything that looks weird, like I'm looking at this right now and I'm like looking right here and it doesn't go anywhere, if you see anything that looks weird, go ahead and fix it. Like this just needs to be enclosed. Okay, so I'm going to start with the leaves, and I'm going to do a salt lift on the green for my leaves of my trees. So I'm just using like a round brush. And the trick with doing the salt, you guys, is that you have to work in small sections and you need to apply the salt while it's still wet. Otherwise it won't work. Okay, so I'm gonna just start with this section. I might do a little wet on wet blending too. So I'm gonna add a little bit of my yellow while it's still wet. So only do one section at a time. And don't worry too much if you go a little outside the lines. Just try to be as neat as you can, okay? Okay, and then I'm gonna do my salt on top of there. So I'm just gonna drop. You don't want to do too much salt either. You want to just do enough that it lifts some of the paint off, but it doesn't completely cover it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to another section. I'm going to move over here away from the salt that I've dropped over there. I'm going to start with yellow this time and then do green. I'm going to do this one. This is called wet on wet. And then I'm going to take some of the salt. I'm going to drop it. You can see how it lifts off some of the wet paint. That's what makes it look cool when it dries. Okay. So then I'm going to move on to the rest of this canopy. Okay, so I finished the canopy of leaves. I kept it lighter in the center and then kind of got darker as they went further out. And once the paint was completely dry, after that you wipe off all of the salt, okay, and that's what will give it that cool look. I also did little X's on my trees so that I remember which is the trees and which is the sky. So I'm going to do, where there aren't any X's, I'm going to do the sky, okay? This time I'm going to wet the paper first because I had to rush a little bit on that one. So I'm just going to wet only where I want to put my paint. And this is still going to be the sky. And if you wet it first, it should extend the amount of time that you have to work on it. So don't worry if it's lighter on one side than the other. It's just like when you're looking up at the sky from the trees, it's not always the same exact shade, so don't worry like that. Yeah, that's better. So when you do yours, make sure you get your paper, don't get it soaking wet, but get it wet before you apply the paint, and that's gonna lead to a better result. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna change over. I'm gonna do a plastic wrap technique on this one. Fun of it. And so you're just gonna take this and place it down. The key is not to lift it back up after you put it down until after it's dry. So I'm gonna skip this section and I'm gonna go to the next section. And remember to wet it first. The paint will want to stay where the water is. So make sure you take your time and only put the water where you want your paint to be, okay? Okay. I'm gonna just keep going, so I'm gonna go on to this one. All of these techniques are actually reliant on timing, okay? Everything has to be done fairly quickly, and it has to still be wet when you apply them. Otherwise, it's not gonna work on the ones that I'm showing you right now anyway. There are other techniques that you can use. But definitely do some practices before you try applying it to your painting. The more you practice, the better it's gonna be when you do the final result. Obviously, I've done this a lot since I'm an actual art teacher, so. And even I'm not doing it perfectly, which isn't the point, isn't to do it perfectly anyway, but. Use a little more paper. Saran wrap on this one. Press it down all the way. If you need to hold it for a minute, you can. That's good. And then go to the next one. It's right here. I don't know if I can reach. I think I can. I'm gonna do let's see. I'm gonna hold that down for a second with some scissors. Okay, so probably speed up the video in a minute so you don't have to watch me do this whole thing, because I'm just going to be doing the same two techniques. Just want to remind you, you don't need to use these colors in your painting. You can create your painting using any different colors that you want, okay? Okay, so this is dry, pulling off the plastic wrap, and then, I don't know, always makes me nervous. I might just leave the salt on for a little bit longer. And I'm gonna start doing a tree while that's drying the rest of the way. Okay, so the trees, I think I'm gonna do, I practiced a couple of different ways of doing it. So I did just like I did a wet on wet with two different colors. And then I did a scratch while it's wet and a scratch while it was dry. And I kind of like the scratch when it's wet, but if it sometimes looks a little on the drier side, that's okay too. so I'm gonna go ahead and, go ahead and start doing that. Oh, and I'm gonna add the blue. There has to be blue up here. I'm gonna do that real quick as well. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here with brown. And I might put a little red in it as well. Since this is over in my brown, I'm just gonna use a little bit, I'm gonna scrub it a little bit. That's called scrubbing. When you're using either water or another color paint, just kind of rubbing it to get it to pull up a little bit. Okay, so. Now remember, we're doing like 1 point perspective. So you're gonna want to try to, if you're doing something like what I'm doing, you wanna try to make it maybe a little whiter at the bottom, and then as it gets closer to the top, it's gonna get closer together. Go to my next section. I'm probably just going to be quiet and let you guys watch. Before I do though, I'm going to scrub this before I put some paint on, and so you can see what that looks like. I'm just pushing some water onto the part that I don't want, and then I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and lay it on there and lift off a little bit of that paint. To make this look like an area, like you're looking up through trees, you're gonna want the trees to be some version of brown, okay? As far as the sky, you can make that any color you want. But if we're wanting to like kind of create this effect, like that it's trees, you're definitely gonna wanna stay in the brown realm, okay? I mean, can you do it a different color? Sure, but so this is dry. Some of that's dry, and that's okay. I'm not worried about it. Keep going. You know what I'm gonna do is, this is a big section of tree, so I'm gonna go ahead and do what we did before, which is I'm gonna wet my paper first. Okay, so I'm on my last tree, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this with brown and do that scratching technique on wet. And you guys can do that with anything. You can use a toothpick or a paper clip. It doesn't matter what you use. I think I was using like a small little screwdriver. And also, just wanted to remind you, you don't have to use the same techniques as I did on your sky or on your trees. You can do whatever technique you want or whatever your teacher asks you to do. So I hope you guys have fun with this. I think they're going to be really pretty when they're done. I really wish I could see your work. If you want to share some with me, you can share it with me on Instagram at Space to Create Art. This video was created by Sabrina Wingren at A Space to Create Art.